I was 12 years old when I read like a Femina magazine. It used to have these articles called Home Truths. And I read there's something called a homosexual. And it's a person who's attracted to me. And I'm like, I think I am that. And I mean, there are other people in the world like me. So that's when I realized. But then even in that same moment, I knew that I had a secret which I had to guard for life.
Yeah, it's weird how you know that as well.
Yeah. It like I knew that this has to go with me to the grave. Like nobody can ever find out. And I think the more we become visible, we'll be like normalizing it a lot more. And if by me being on this podcast or be me being more visible or like as a gay person, if one kid like somewhere can get one jive less, like I think our purpose would have been served.
Yeah, absolutely. Hola and welcome to the Queer Podcast Season 3. So singer-songwriter Barry Manilow did it at the age of 73, Caitlyn Jenner at the age of 65, and Oscar-winning actor Joel Grey did it at 82. Any guesses what I'm referring to? So I'm talking about late bloomers into our queer community, those who choose to come out later in life, often for a myriad of reasons and some specific to the context of being Indian, which is what we're going to explore. And with us to shed more light on this choice is the lovely Mihir Chanchani, advertising creative whiz, who I had the pleasure of meeting a year ago and keep bumping into at our local neighborhood gym. Go gays. Welcome, Mihir. Thank you very, very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I've seen some really cool people on your show and I'm really excited.
Oh, thank you. Coming in to come out, possibly, in a sense, and for sharing your personal story. I know you tossed and turned about this and you had to think things through, obviously. Very understandable. So many, many thank yous. Yeah. So would you just tell me briefly what you do, where you're from?
I'm here. Like I work in advertising. I've been in this field for I think 25 years.
Wow.
I'm a creative director, and where
Bombay boy?
I actually was born in a really small town in Bihar.
Wow.
My family moved to Calcutta when I was 12. So that's where I did my senior school and college. And then like I worked a bit there. And then I moved to Delhi to work for a bit as well.
Okay.
And then in 2007, I came to Bombay and I'm here since then.
Right.
So that's pretty much it.
Flourishing in Bombay.
I'd like to think so.
So, just a broad thing coming out. The phrase is still quite unfamiliar to most Indians, right? So, it's safe to say that it's used mostly by urban, English speaking Indians who are familiar with the world of gender, sexual minorities, and come with privileges of many sorts, right? So, coming out basically refers to, coming out basically refers to a metaphorical closet, coming out of that closet, which can mean different things to different people. So it can be a very emancipatory act for some, it can be not so positive for others, and sometimes it's also forced upon certain people, which is called being outed, which is actually ghastly and very, very damaging. Right?
Agree. That
Yeah.
would be horrible.
Yeah. So Mihir, you were in your late 30s when you came out, yeah? And that conventionally is, I mean, if conventional rules apply to us queers, it's quite late to the party. What made you finally decide on coming out?
First of all, I don't think it was late. It's more like der aaya durust aaye, like all good things take time.
Nice.
And it was like I came out when I was ready. Sorry, I forgot what is the second question.
So the question basically is, what made you finally decide or think of coming out? Because we all know people who choose not to come out, who never come
Yeah,
out,
sure.
and who live maybe dual existences, maybe double lives, especially in India. So, आपने क्यों सोचा कि, I think I need to come out?
One word answer is I had this really deep belief in karma, and I also believe this thing of when you lie, there's something called lying by omission, when you don't say the full truth
Right.
about yourself,
Correct.
and that's not good. And the medium part of it is like back in 2012, within a span of 6 months, I very quickly lost both my parents.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear
No, that's
that.
all right.
Yeah.
And you know that like that brings a lot of clarity. And while I was like in a lot of pain, I was doing a lot of thinking. I somehow figured that even I had been giving out a lot of pain because I had been pretending to be straight till back then. I was getting into relationships with women, and they were all really lovely, they were amazing women, but I would find like some reason or the other to break it, and that would like really break people's heart. And I knew that when I was doing that, I was acquiring a lot of bad karma. And then I did a little more searching, and then I mean, I knew this about myself from the time I was a child, but like I had to literally come out to myself and say that, you know, you're doing this because you know what the root reason is. And that's when I said, okay, I have to come. So that's when I came out to myself. I was 32 then. And then it took me many, many, many years after that, like till I could even come out to the people like who were the closest to me. So I choose to come out because I didn't want to like hurt more people, cause more bad karma.
Wow, that's really beautiful. And that's really, I think, testament to who you are as a person. So well done for that.
If there's a competition, okay, thanks.
No, and I
I'll
hope
just say thank you.
I hope you've been clearing your karmic debts
Oh yeah,
at a
I have.
pace.
Like I have been like all the people I've hurt. I'm like going back and saying that, you know, I'm sorry I did this. I haven't been able to do it to like one person, but I'm hoping.
Have you approached any of the women you had relationships
Oh
with?
yeah,
Oh, how lovely.
I they're really really lovely people, and I think of them very very dearly. So it would be wrong on my like. I mean, when I came out, the first thing I said that they need to know, and I did approach a couple of them, and I did
Yeah.
tell them, and it's amazing. I'm very glad that I did that. I feel like I don't know if there's a way you can correct it, but I think I corrected my karma a little bit by doing
Right.
that.
How did they respond? Were they like, you bloody bastard?
No,
Or-
I told you they're amazing women. So one of them is a really, really dear friend, and she continues to be so. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't even know. I never guessed." Another one was the same. Like, I never saw that coming, but thanks for sharing that with me. And it just lifted like such a big load off me, right?
Yeah, of
And
course,
yeah,
Hannah.
yeah,
That's one of the most beautiful things about coming out, that suddenly life just feels
yeah.
lighter. But
Much
we'll come
lighter.
to that because this is not us advocating coming out, but discussing coming out,
Yeah, sure.
really. So I also actually dated someone, and she told me while we were dating, which was very offensive at the time, that, you know, you're gay. And I was like, what?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, I know.
but I guess she could see it, and you know, people could see it before I chose to accept it. But we'll examine that. So thank you. That's a beautiful, beautiful answer. You said to me the other day, "I'm still coming out." Would you explain that?
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, I don't think is coming out is more like standing on top of like a big tower and shouting, "Hey, guess what? I'm gay." Doesn't work like that. Like I told you, first you need to come out to yourself, and then like slowly you start like, you know, coming out to people around you. And I don't think at any point there'll be like everybody who knows about you. So even while I'm on this podcast, a whole lot of like people, my extended family, maybe my colleagues, like a whole lot of people are going to come out. I mean, get to know about me through this. I'll be coming out to them through this podcast, like people
Wow.
who don't even know of me. And you have to keep on doing that, because the more people like me know about you, I mean, the better it is. But what I was trying to say, that it's not like you've done it once and it's over.
Correct. No, no, no.
Yeah, and that's why like every different scenario, every set of situations, every new place that you go to, you need to keep doing that
Yeah.
again and again.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, that I'm still coming out. Like I told you, a lot of them will get to know about me through this podcast.
Wow.
So it
No,
is in motion.
I absolutely agree with you, because even though I came out at 2021, I'm still coming out in my mid 50s. I'm still asked certain questions, which, if I were to be really honest, but I sometimes don't feel the need to tell the person sitting on an
Yeah,
aeroplane next to me
exactly.
who asks, "Oh, are you married? How come you're not married?" And also, I do find, to be quite honest, I think sometimes people have a perception of you, or possibly think you're possibly queer. I'm talking about myself. But I find that they'll still ask. And I find that a bit annoying because it's almost like they want me to do the I am a gay dance for them, to the tune of YMCA. Like, why, like, it's not, sometimes you feel like saying it's none of your business. I'm not really asking you what's your favorite position in bed. So, why are you asking me something which really is perhaps quite personal?
No, I agree 100%. It is something really, really personal. And whoever I think needs to know will get to know. And that also links back to your previous question that why do we need to constantly keep coming out? Because
yeah.
we decide, okay, this person needs to know. I would like this person to know about who I really am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really personal. I mean, you don't have to come out if you don't want to.
Exactly.
You can go on your whole life without coming
Absolutely.
out. And it's entirely your personal
Your choice.
yeah, your choice. Like if whether you want to come out, not come out, it's entirely your choice. And we don't have to come out to everyone.
Absolutely. I agree with you totally. Contrary to popular belief, I do agree with you. And I do think that that notion of coming out is a Western notion. The celebratory notion is I think in India it comes with a lot of layers and you need to really think it through. So if I may ask, what do you think held you back?
Multiple reasons. The world and India is a very different place right now. Like it wasn't like that, like say 15 years back, 20 years back.
You're right.
Even like amongst our families, amongst workplaces, the way gay people were portrayed in cinema,
Media,
like it
yeah.
was really horrible. I remember there's a show called Shriman Srimati, and there's this horrible character called Dilruba, and anybody who was remotely effeminate, like they'd like, oh, you're like Dilruba, and somebody said that to me, and I wanted to die in that moment.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
Yeah, media has a lot to answer for those
yeah,
representations.
and on a very personal note, because I thought it was, I mean, I knew from the time, I knew there was something, I was different from the time, like I was a child, literally a child.
Absolutely.
I was 12 years old when I read like a Femina magazine. It used to have these articles called Home Truths. And I read there's something called a homosexual. And it's a person who's attracted to me. And I'm like, I think I am that. And I mean, there are other people in the world like me. So that's when I realized. But then even in that same moment, I knew that I had a secret which I had to guard for life.
Yeah, it's weird how you know that as well. nah?
Yeah. It like I knew that this has to go with me to the grave. Like nobody can ever find out. And then as I was growing up, all the societal pressure. My dad had a heart condition, so I'd be like, if I ever tell them, I'm sure he won't be able to take it. And there was like really, really. So there, even at work, like though I work in a very, very progressive field, sometimes when people would talk, they say such derogatory things,
Yeah,
like
I've been there.
the gay jokes and the
Yeah.
so,
But less so now, wouldn't you say?
oh yeah. I'm really happy with the way things have changed now, and a big thanks to the Section 377 going. That
Absolutely.
was a day of celebration.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And that's taken away so much of fear. Like earlier, like even when you came out, like, oh my God, I'm a criminal. I could go to
Yeah.
jail for this. That's
Yes,
horrible.
absolutely.
And but that's made things a lot better. And I think and there is a lot more awareness. And we need to create a lot more awareness, and that's all a happy thing. So it's a different time, great time for coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, would you tell me broadly about your coming out experience? How old were you? Who do you think was like amongst the first people you told? How did you tell them?
So like I told you, I first came out to myself when I was 32.
Right.
And then after that, it took me a long time to say that, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm really going to this thing which I thought that I'll take to my grave. I am not. So that took like a lot of convincing, and then I said, if I'm doing this, the people who have to know first are the people who are the dearest and the closest to me.
Absolutely.
Which is my immediate family, my brother and my sister. And it wasn't easy. I really plotted. We'd gone on a family holiday and had planned this everything that I knew that I'm going to tell them on the last, like we knew our flights were in the evening at 4 o'clock or whatever. I'm going to sit everybody down at around 11:30 or so, quickly say this, and then we'll all be like in a rush to go have lunch and then whatever, and it'll be over kind of a thing. And I did exactly that. And it was obviously like, it was all very emotional. Like even before I could start to speak, I was like, guys, I need to tell you something, please sit down. And when I was like, I started talking, I started choking, and like, and I'm like, I have to tell you something, and I have to tell you, but something. And I started, and I was crying, and my brother's like, listen, I think I already know what you're going to say. I'm like, no, I still have to say it, whatever. So I did come out to them, and they were just so nice. They were just like, as long as you're happy, we don't care about
Oh, how
anything
lovely.
else. Like, and that, oh my god, that moment, the load that lifted off me, and from that moment on, like, I really didn't care about like
Wow.
anybody else. So
Yeah.
they were the first. But I must say, my brother was an absolute ass. He's such an ass, like when I was telling him that, when I this it's like, yeah, and I was an idiot. I used to write like a diary as a 14, 15, 16-year old. My brother's like, yeah, I know, long time, because every day when you wrote the diary, I would read it.
Eek, worst nightmare. Even I used to write diaries because I was very inspired by the diary of Anne Frank when I discovered her. And I still have them and I actually have to burn them.
Oh, I
Seriously.
have mine too. So in that moment when I
But
was
I
feeling
keep thinking, what if we are like, God forbid, untimely death and all, people are going to be reading and saying, oh my God, what was this child up to?
you know what? Somewhere, I'm sorry we're digressing, but somewhere I wrote those diaries because I thought जब ये मर जाएगा लोग पढ़ेंगे.
Acha, posthumous.
Yeah, of course. Like somebody has to know what I went through, and it's because it's got such detailed like accounts. This day, this thing happened. This one made fun of me. This one imitated
I
the way I
feel like killing him.
Yeah, like, and no, I feel like dying. That comes like many a times in that. So, but anyways, the coming out thing. What was very funny about it, though it was like a really really emotional moment. I also wanted to kill my brother in that moment because here he's being so nice, like putting his arm around me and saying it's all okay. But he's also like, I've read
I
your
knew,
diary.
yeah. But many people actually, I know, like my best friend who unfortunately passed away, Riyad Wadia, his elder brother Roy is also queer. And they both knew because they'd read each other's diaries
Ah,
because
okay.
they used to share a room. So, how sweet is that? And also how bizarre it is. So, yeah. But, so your brother did know earlier, like when
He
he
claims
said,
to, yeah. Yeah, he did know. And apparently he told my parents, my mom about it also. And she knew too. I'd never find out for real, but like, that's what he says. The jury's still out on that.
right. But maybe you can have some peace in your heart somewhere that maybe your mom did know, and maybe that's good in a way.
I don't know if I want to call it peace, but if I had a regret, it would be that I couldn't come out when they were around.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
sure they know now.
I didn't have to come out to my dad because also my parents were separated, but my dad was like such a macho, very masculine Punjabi that I kind of think, thank God, मैं उससे बच गया. Like I didn't have to tell him at least because I don't know how I would have told him and what his reaction would be because even when I was a like kid before my teens, his whole thing was to toughen me up and like run round the bungalow, and I was like, nah, why making run? Okay, so also I have to say this is a bit of a show off moment, but my grandmother Ismat Chuktai, the writer,
course, I know.
yeah. So I shared a room with her, and she would keep telling me, "Okay, एक ही जिंदगी है. Like you have one life and you are different and you need to live that life as honestly as possible. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for you." And I'd be like, what is she saying? I don't know. Because I myself hadn't really come to understand the term, right? But I clearly was a effeminate little boy and I liked things which other boys didn't. So I think those differences were very marked for me. So obviously she knew with her wisdom. And in a way, even though I was shit scared of coming out, also the industry that I started, advertising like you, 30 years ago was a very hostile place. And all the directors were literally Stetson wearing, cigar smoking, macho men. I thought I'd have no career if I came out.
Even I thought that for a while. I mean, I always knew I was talented, but talent apart, like I somehow thought I'd be mocked. Like
Yeah.
I've heard how people talk about like gay
Yeah.
people, and so I thought they'd just like laugh about. I was
Yeah,
very sure of
behind
my
your
talent, but
back.
I'd just be like, they'll just like laugh about me all the time.
And you don't feel comfortable
Yeah.
dealing with that. No, absolutely. Because also you're at the ages where you want to fit in, you don't want to stand out. And then how blessed is it to think that 30 years later, I get called to do queer work. I'll
Yeah.
be called to say, listen, we are doing something or we want something with the LGBT community. Or like this podcast, what a I mean, I never thought, and what an amazing opportunity this has been for me through Audiomatic. Like, it's really been very, very soul satisfying. So, I think we have a lot to be grateful for
Yeah, if
also.
I can, like, I'd really like to take this moment to say how things have changed and how amazing it is in my place of work right now. All they want is your talent and your hunger to do good work. They don't
Yeah.
care about LGBT, whatever. Like, and
Correct.
that's amazing because of that we can attract such amazing talent. We have trans people in our office.
Oh, how amazing.
It's so encouraging and so happy, like, to see that, and that's what we need, like that's what we need, like,
Diversity.
yeah.
That's superb. But do you feel now that maybe if people perceive you as queer or do know you're queer, that they actually think you'd be well suited for certain things and like you'd have a certain sensitivity or a certain artistic whatever?
So I have, like we discussed earlier, I haven't discussed this at work because this has really nothing to do with my work. But like I'm sure a lot of people will get to know about me through this. But I still feel maybe, and maybe I could be wrong, like some clients would not want me to work on like hyper masculine, like for,
Brands.
yeah, like if there was a car for like really rugged men, like they might say that, you know what, I do not want this guy because he will not have a good connect, and I can understand that. I
Yes.
personally don't have any interest in cars, and if they say that, okay, yeah, he might not be the right fit for it, I understand, because it's business at the end of the day.
Correct, correct. But yeah, I never got anything except uh, FMCG brands like personal care. I felt like I was only doing pink films for a long time. It was just rehashing the same pink set, pink props, pink bathroom. So I did get stereotyped in a way, but then I felt, okay, you know what, maybe this is my niche and I'm running with it because at least I'm getting work.
Exactly. I
You
think,
know?
like, something which you said about the younger people, and what I generally feel is that uh, uh, for a long time, like, we're kind of embarrassed of ourselves, but I don't think that's what it needs to be. Like you said, like, each one of us has our own niche, things that we are good at, own it. And like you said, you've been producing certain kind of work, and look where it's got you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm sure we're all good at something, and that's what we all need to do, and not be embarrassed of
Yeah, you're
anything.
right. You're right. So how has it been being a late bloomer, a der ay durust ay?
What's good about coming out late is, like, by the I came out in my late 30s, so by that time I was very clear of what I want and what I don't want.
Yes.
Yeah, it also saved me a lot of insecurities about looks and hookups and things like that.
So
Like,
there was more maturity.
yes, I mean, I'm not saying any of that doesn't happen even now. Like, even I mean, I get a bit insecure even now as well. But I understand at that time it would be a lot more, right? Because it's really like a hunting ground at that point. So when I got into the scene, I was kind of clear of what I wanted, what I didn't want, and so it saved me a lot of that kind of trouble. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have as much fun as probably some of the younger people did, but it's okay. I'm really like Dera Durustha. I'm really happy
Yeah.
about the time when I came out and like
Are
whatever
you
I did.
making up for the fun element now?
Hmm, kind of, like, I'm okay. I'm okay with my dose of everything.
Okay, good, good. So I do feel it's important to clarify this because I think sometimes the perception of our community is that it's just sexually driven and sexually motivated. So I do think it's important to say that coming out isn't just sexually driven, right? As in the cases of people who come out later, Barry Manilow, Joel Grey, sex isn't as much of a driving force, I presume, when you're middle aged as it is maybe in your earlier years. So let's chat about what else coming out entails. Like, why does one come out? Like, why do you think people come out?
I think it's very important to own your narrative, right? Like, I'm sure, like, see, I am gay, okay? So now, like,
Do you still feel a little excited saying it?
no, I feel a bit scared every
Oh.
time I say it. Like, I always visualize an aunt like hearing it and going like that kind of a thing. Okay, so but the thing is, like how they say, like, sach chupai nahi chutta. Like, there's no way of hiding it, right? So people will find out someday, but better if they come to know directly from me.
Yeah.
I say it
Yeah.
rather than, oh, you know what, I saw whatever, wink wink, hush hush,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
So I think for me that's important, to own your own narrative.
Yes, as you said little while ago, that own it, like
Yeah, so
claim it.
yeah. And again, like, one life, right? Like, so you see, like, if do you want to, like, keep deprive yourself of this one life, and, like, take that load, the immense pressure of having to constantly lie to everyone, and then, like, be like, whatever. So I think everybody has a right to, like,
Yeah.
really enjoy their life, and who you choose to be with, everybody has the right to do
Correct.
that.
So, am I right in thinking what you mean also is you just align to your own authentic self when you come out? You start living a more true
Yeah, you know
life.
what? Like, a friend of mine put it really, really beautifully. She said, everybody has to live their truth. And this is your truth. Like, so you can go on either hiding
Yeah.
it or just, like, come, because
Yeah.
that's when you'll actually be, like, living
Yeah.
a good life, having fun.
Yeah, strange that you say that because a friend of mine, when I was thinking about coming out, and she's also in media and it was in advertising, then she did say to me, like, maybe the people who reject you when you come out and when you say to them that you're queer, maybe you're better off without those people in your life. Maybe you didn't need those friends or colleagues to be friends of yours because they're not people who you would align with, right? They did.
100%. Like, I couldn't agree more. Like, I like you said, I thought a lot about whether I should do this, whether or not I shouldn't do this, because it's going to, like, other than me, it's got family and stuff like that. But then, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, the answer which I got is, I'm not doing anything wrong. I haven't
Correct.
committed a crime. I'm not hurting anybody else. And if I'm not doing anything wrong, then if somebody has a problem with them, then their problem.
True, very
Yeah.
true. So, what do you think are the stages involved with coming out? I think you touched on this earlier. First, of course, is self acceptance and accepting it and coming out to yourself, where that can be very, very challenging. And you could have same sex attractions, you've obviously mapped it. You could even have sexual intimacy of certain kinds with the same sex, but you could still be in complete denial, which we meet. We know those people, right? Who, so
I
I
was like
think,
that till 32 years of age.
meaning you had the odd experience or you did,
I knew about
yeah,
myself, but I still carried on like it doesn't exist, right?
hoping it'll go away one
Yeah.
day.
Oh, I really prayed for that. Like, I used to pray to God, like, please, mujhe theek kar do.
Yeah.
I really used to think that there's something wrong with me. Please make me okay. I'll do whatever you say.
Wow, that's heavy.
But
Pray the gay away.
oh, I did it. I did because like we were
Didn't
discussing.
go.
Yeah, I didn't go. I just became stronger and stronger. Yeah, but like you were saying earlier, what are the things which hold you back? That moment when you, like, oh, like, the whole world's gonna know about me, and you know that you yourself know what's wrong with you. You really think that's wrong, and you feel that, oh my God, my family is going to feel that they have a son like that. My dad is going to feel bad.
Yeah.
And in India, we have this whole thing of, like, extended families, like, oh my God, like, people who have sisters, like, their family is going to get in. What are they going to say to her? Like, whatever. Like, it's hard. Like, but I guess you start, like, one step at a time and
Yes.
see what you do.
Yeah. The Indian context we must come to because I think that's very specific and worth
Yeah.
exploring. Yeah. Uh, so I think you preempted my next question. You knew you were different from an early age. You had figured it out, no?
Yeah, I didn't know what was wrong. I was very young to, like, put a finger on it, but I definitely knew there was something wrong with me. And you had a lovely positive example of, like, how people identified it before you did, like
Yes.
your grandma did, and that was a very positive way. But maybe I didn't notice it, but others around me, though I had like a lovely childhood, like, I'm so happy
touch
about
wood.
my childhood. It was full of love, cared. Like, I grew up in a big joint family, cousins, uncle, aunts. I loved my childhood. That's,
lovely.
like, one. But even then, like, even, like, every once in a while somebody would call you a name which was a girl's name. Like, every once in a while, so when you're young, you don't understand why are they saying that to you. Why are they calling you that? Like, you don't. But slowly, when you start growing up, when you come to your teens, and when you start realizing that this is wrong with me, I mean, when people say stuff like that, it cuts through. Like, you want to die in that moment. It's so bad. Like, I was giving you the Dilruba example. I love my cousins, but every once in a while, when somebody would say something like that, I was like, I can't do anything about it, and I feel so shit about it.
Yeah.
It was terrible, terrible, terrible.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, no, it's hard. And can you imagine? We come with privilege. We
Yeah.
come with education. We come. I mean, I know you grew. I didn't. I know you didn't grow up in Bombay, but you grew up in what you told me was a very educated, progressive family. So, despite all that, it was so hard. So, can you, even for a nanosecond, imagine what it's like for kids who don't have any of these privileges, kids who are from rural areas, from disenfranchised communities? Can you imagine what mental health, what issues they have coming to terms with this? Which is why I've seen in my experience, both with documentary film and with counseling, that a lot of gay boys in villages become hijras because they don't know anything else. They just feel कि अगर मैं ऐसे हूँ और मुझे थोड़ा ये वो का शौक है, इसका मतलब मैं हिजड़ा हूँ. It's a
That's so
straight,
sad.
yeah, and it's brutal. And I've met people and worked with people in even at the Humsafar Trust, who have told me that, I knew I was different. I knew I liked to dance with my sisters, नाचना गाना, and दीदी के साथ ये करना वो करना. तो सब मुझे बोलते थे, अरे ये तो हिजड़ा है, तो मैं भाग गई हिजड़ों के साथ. Which may not have been a choice that they might have made otherwise.
And that is kind of linked to, I know you haven't asked me that, but I think that is why it is so important for people who can come out to come out.
Yeah.
Okay, because like I was telling you earlier, that I had a very, very privileged childhood and a very loving childhood. But in spite of that, every once in a while, the jab that you'd get, like that is so hurtful. I mean,
Yeah.
I have thought many a times that why am I born like this? Why do I even need to live? Like, if I'm and statistically speaking, we know that LGBT people have contemplated suicide multiple number
More
of times.
times,
Yes.
and higher substance abuse, higher incidence of mental health issues, all of that, and that's all manifestations of having to deal with this.
Yeah, and that
I'm
is,
so sorry, Meer. I didn't realize it was so hard for you to deal with.
you
when
know what?
were-
What I want to say is that thankfully for me, the love was way more than the hate. I was surrounded by so much love that every time that I had one negative thought, like the positives around me, like was so good that I forgot about it. Like, maybe it was a bit stupid, but I just went on, oh, they said something bad to me today, I'm really upset. But hey, what are you doing? Like, I want to see what you guys are doing, and then carry on with that. And I think I had a very good mix of a childhood, because I did grow up in a small town, but I also grew up in a metropolitan. I grew up in Calcutta, which is like a really big city.
And then you studied in Delhi, I think.
I worked in Delhi as
Worked
well.
in Delhi.
But what I want to say is that the reason why it's important for people who can come out to come out is because, people say mean things because they haven't seen gay people.
Also, correct.
And like we said earlier, the media portrays like a really horrible version of being gay. And I think the more we become visible, we'll be like normalizing it a lot more. And if by me being on this podcast, or be me being more visible, or like as a gay person, if one kid like somewhere can get one jibe less, like, I think our purpose would have been served.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure, because you are somebody who's very senior and respected in your career, I'm sure the odd person who is interested in the same field, who would come across this, would feel inspired and less intimidated to choose this career. And which is why it's so lovely. In my time, it was very stereotyped: fashion, hair, makeup, dancer. So, which is why it's so amazing, and I think this podcast has been amazing for that, to talk to people who've been in politics, who've been in activism, who've been in advertising, who've been in law. That's what's been so amazing, that now I think the queer community is everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's great to know. You know what I mean? Like, that's really like very heartening to see. And in the case of family, I do tell kids that it would help if you are financially a little sorted or a little independent, because then, God forbid, if something happens and you're thrown out on your little bottom, then at least you have your own means to survive.
Actually, that's my number one criteria. If I could say, like, one piece of advice which no one wants is basically that before you come out, make sure you're financially independent, because financial independence will pave the road for personal freedom, more so in the Indian context. Because, like you were discussing earlier, like even now, like you meet so many people who, when they find out that you're gay, the first thing they'll do is they'll throw you out of the house. Like,
Yeah.
it's like disown you, disinherit you, whatever the thing is. That's a
Yeah.
reality that's happening
It
even
is.
now. So I think the first thing which everybody needs to do is find that one thing which they're good at and make sure they are really financially stable basis that. In India, we also have to keep in mind like things like tenancy and stuff like that. Like, you know,
Yes.
that's so sad that like if your landlord finds out that you're gay, and they might really throw you out of your house.
Absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
people who've been like thrown like overnight, say get lost. I mean, can
Yeah.
you imagine being on the street?
Yeah.
So one needs to think of all of those. Plus, like we discussed, there's this whole extended family conversation. And I think a lot of it becomes a bit easier if you're kind of doing well, you know?
Yes. Okay, so is there a correct way of coming out? Not at all, right?
Maybe, I don't know if we can call it a correct way. Is like, um, come out to the ones that matter. If there's anything correct about it, I would just say that. Like we discussed earlier, the whole world doesn't need to know.
Yeah.
Your next door auntie doesn't need to know.
Yeah.
Like if just come out to who you think needs to know, because it's privileged information, right? Like, I am trusting you. I want you to know who I am. Like, I want to
Yeah.
share this with you. So just come out like to those
True,
people.
it's
That's-
very personal. But I was reading that it's almost a certainty that many people will regret some aspect of how they approach it, right? With in hindsight, okay. So GLAAD, Glad's Matthew Lasky says that because it can be, and I quote, a scary and potentially ostracizing experience at any age, it's helpful to have a supportive friend, an affirming therapist, or a local LGBTQ plus community center to help you through. Unfortunately, we don't have too many of those, but I think what they are referring to is a support
Yeah,
system.
I completely agree. And what I would say in that context is the first few people that you come out to, they can actually pave the way for how you feel about yourself. Because
Yes.
imagine, like, I was so lucky that
Yeah.
like I got so much love even when I came out. But imagine if the first few experiences were so bad, you'd be scarred. Like,
Absolutely.
so it's very, like, I completely agree. Come out to people who you know, even if it takes time, will come around you and put their arms around you and comfort you. And then I think that makes the whole thing a lot
Correct.
better.
And have a support system in place, ideally.
Absolutely.
A friend or somebody who is there for you.
Yes.
All right. Just to close, Mihir, how has it been since you've come out? It seems like it's been a very positive, gratifying experience.
It's been amazing. I'm like, I think I'm living my best life right now. So I'm very, very grateful for everything that's around me and
Bless
everything
you.
that's come my way. So I feel really, really blessed and happy and humble and all of those things.
And I know you're a little thing about this, but I can't help adding that I know you are in a relationship. So how affirming has that been to you?
Really, I'm singing "Koi Mil Gaya" inside. And like again, I'm just really, really thankful about the whole thing. I feel really glad and really blessed.
Good. I'm so glad. So to close this lovely chat, I think I need to say that all you folks who are questioning, who are thinking this through, please take support. Speak to family, speak to a friend, speak to a mental health professional if you can, while you're navigating this choice. It is a choice. It will be scary as F. But I do hope and wish that you're able to do this with a lot of kindness and love to yourself primarily. And I hope to see you all at the next Pride. Thank you so much, Mihir. I know this has been big for you to do. So
Thank
big,
you very much for having me.
big rainbows and hearts and love to you.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thanks a ton.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.